What is going on, Governor? It's Chisgule here, and today we're going to do a commander guide on Constantine. This commander is a monster in Ark of Osiris League for defending structures. OV showed us that in the championship battle for Ark of Osiris Season 1, and we're going to talk all about why perhaps you should consider investing into this commander. If you like Rise of Kingdoms videos where we take a look at all of the commanders and break down where they're good and why they're good, you should like and subscribe. Check out my commander playlist because we've got a video on just about every gosh darn commander in the game. Let's get right into the mix. When we do a commander guide, we look at the skills, we break down the talents, we talk about how you can unlock them, and last but not least, the pairings. Who do you put this commander with to obliterate your opponents? So let's get right into the skills on Constantine. First and foremost, for the next 5 seconds, their active skill will decrease the target's attack by an upwards of 40% and increase your own troop damage reduction. So you take less damage by 10% for your army and nearby friendly armies. This is pretty cool. Like Joan of Arc, you're getting an effect that benefits all of the folks nearby, and this is also debuffing a single target really, really profoundly. 40% attack is a lot. The second skill is simple but effective. 40% infantry health is a lot of health to add to your already hardy infantry. The third skill is a garrison-related skill, which does work in flags, forts, holy sites, and Ark of Osiris structures in addition to your own city. Increase the attack of the garrison by an upwards of 10% and watchtower attack by an upwards of 10%. 10% attack is solid because that's all types of units getting the benefit of that attack. That includes your siege units, if you had them there, your infantry, your archers, and your cavalry. The last skill is pretty interesting. Let's talk about this for a second. When the army led by this commander has been reduced to 50% strength, troops will receive a powerful healing effect, healing factor of upwards of 15,000. But healing effects received afterwards will be decreased by 30%, and skill damage taken while shielded is reduced by 10%. That's actually a good positive effect there. This effect can trigger a maximum of once per hour once the army has left the city. So this can trigger every time you leave the city and then come back to your own city. So I was a little confused about how that worked for a while, but I'm pretty sure at this point that if you leave your city, it triggers, you go back to your city, you can go back out again and get the effect again. You just can't stay out for like an hour plus and have it trigger more than once, right? So what they want to avoid is a situation where you trigger the effect and go back over 50% health, and then you drop back down and trigger it again, and trigger it again, and you could just never die. That's what's going on there. So let's get a look at the fourth, or rather the fifth skill here, the expertise skill, obtained when you max all these other skills. That's a total of 700 legendary commander sculptures, 690 after you've unlocked the commander. This adds 15% troop attack and 5% defense, which is actually amazing. This is amazing for defending structures in Ark of Osiris or a flag, because people can dump whatever troop type they want, and, you know, sure, they're not getting this benefit over here that you would be giving to all your infantry, the 40% of stats, but you are still getting, the 15% attack and the 5% defense, which is really, really good. That is quite strong. Let's get a look at the talents available on this commander. They have garrison, they have support, and they have infantry. It's an interesting combination. Now, you all know by now that the thing that I love about the support tree is Rejuvenate, which for 3 talent points is giving you 150 rage per skill used. This is a rage engine, my friends. You will generate a huge amount of rage from this alone and fire off your skills very, very quickly. So if I was using this commander in a garrison capacity, I would get Rejuvenate for sure. I would then make my way over to Emergency Protection to reduce the amount of skill damage that I'm taking and to make the unit more tanky. This will be a little bit countered by the newest additions into the game, Takeda and Attila, so we need to watch out for the extent to which they counter this ability, and also loose formation, which is really, really powerful. 3 points for 9% skill damage reduction, quite strong. From the garrison tree, I would take Nowhere to Turn and also Impregnable. Along the way, you get some other stuff that's pretty interesting too, and I'd call it there. I wouldn't go any further into that tree. In the infantry tree, there are some things that I would pick up that are very, very valuable. First and foremost, we're not trying to max out this tree because there's a lot of march speed here, and for defending structures, we're really not interested in that march speed all that much. I get that you still need to get to the structure, but hopefully you can be in place already. I actually really like making your way up to hold the line, grabbing strong of body, and if you happen to have a few extra points, Undying Fury is good, and I would get Iron Spear. If you are trying to rock the open field rather than defend a structure, in that case, I would probably go and consider maxing out Cage of Thorns, and I would consider maxing out Elite Soldiers. If you've got enough points to do both of those things, that'd be amazing. I suspect you won't, and if you don't, I'd go prioritize Elite Soldiers. I would get Strong of Body. I think Fleet of Foot is pretty important to get that extra march speed. I would definitely get Loose Formation. I would definitely get Rejuvenate, and that's probably all the points that you've got. If you happen to have enough to make your way over to Emergency Protection, amazing, but that's how I would orient an open field build. I'd go more for that march speed so that you can actually get to the fights that you need to get to make the contribution you need to make. Okay, let's talk about how you unlock this commander. They are only available from Mighty Governor, so you need to get them from the Mighty Governor. Get your 10 sculptures, get the unlock, then you use universals to further work on this commander. For that reason, this is the sort of commander that you need to invest in pretty fiercely. It's a lot of universals to expertise this commander. Maxing out a Mighty Governor commander is a hugely expensive endeavor because of all the universals that need to go into it. You need to be pretty gosh darn confident that that's the right move if that's what you're going to do, and they are quite strong. They are quite strong. Let's talk about pairings for this commander. And we're going to give two sets of pairings. First, we're going to talk about Garrison, and then we're going to talk about Open Field. Now, if you're doing Garrison, I'm going to make the argument that the best pairing in the game here for prolonging a fight in Ark of Osiris would be with Richard I. Use Constantine primary, Richard I secondary, and you're cooking with gas. That's the play. That's the combo. Use that. You could fool around and use Martel as a secondary, but why fool around? You could fool around and use Yi Song-Ye as a secondary, but why fool around? Go all infantry, use Richard, and hold on for dear life. Extend the duration with which you can stall a structure. That's the combo. If you did bring Yi Song-Ye, you would get a lot of AoE. You open up the ability to bring archers, but again, all the stats from talents on your Constantine will not apply. All those beneficial infantry stats will not apply if you're not bringing infantry. So I don't feel great about those pairings. You could bring Sun Tzu as a secondary. It wouldn't be the worst, but if you're the kind of player that is investing so many universals into a Constantine, I'd kind of wonder why you wouldn't also then have the Richard to go with it as opposed to a Sun Tzu. That said, if you're well, it's not even an early game situation where that's what you would be doing. If you were defending a structure outside of League, I do think Richard is still pretty good as a secondary, although I worry about really exposing yourself too much to Alexander the Great countering you. I actually think in that situation, Martel or Yi Song-Ye starts to be more appropriate because now you're not trying to just stall the structure, you're trying to also be pretty effective, and these commanders are gosh darn effective for defending flags. Now, if what you want to do is run around in the open field and have a grand old time, I think that Charles Martel would be a great starting point as a secondary commander to the Constantine primary. And the reason that I want him to be the secondary and Constantine to be the primary is for that support tree to just fire off those skills super, super rapidly. So if you're the kind of player that is investing in a Constantine, I'm going to assume you might also have that Charles Martel in a really great place. That'd be a good commander to use. You could use Richard, and you're just going to be very, very tanky and buffing for a very long time. I also really like Joan of Arc if what you're making is a buffing unit and you want to offer a lot of buffs to everybody nearby. I think that's totally fine. You could use Sun Tzu as a secondary to do a bunch of damage. I think that actually would be quite good. The only thing I'll caution you is that, you know, there's a lot of places where Sun Tzu is really powerful. There might be other combinations where you could put Sun Tzu that would be very strong. I actually do kind of like, however, the Sun Tzu Constantine combo. I think you could do some pretty fierce work with the rage regen there. It would be pretty nuts. That might actually be my number one open field pick if you didn't have Martel. And even if you did, like, I love the march speed that Martel is giving you. That comes from the expertise skill. But gosh darn it, if that march speed isn't amazing. And on the topic of march speed, Alexander the Great is an awesome pairing. Truly exceptional. Okay, I displaced Joan of Arc with Alexander the Great. This is it. Here you go. This is the pair. Use Constantine primary, Alexander the Great secondary. You're going to machine gun out these shields. You can debuff healing of a target. If you got the expertise skill, you're going to make everybody else weaker around you. This is where it's at. Constantine primary, Alexander the Great secondary. And if you're on a budget or you're, Alexander the Great's deployed somewhere else, yeah, you could consider using a commander like Olgi Mundok. You could do it, and it really wouldn't be that bad. Olgi Mundok is going to be making the defense of your target reduced by 30%. That's a powerful addition. You got some anti-swarm technology. You could use a Boudica even to get the rage gen going. The infantry are already tanky enough, so this will give you a little bit of punch, a little bit of healing. I was think this is totally fine. So, lot of combinations there that are pretty gosh darn interesting for this commander. I am considering investing in them, and that's a bold statement because it's an old commander, and I generally like to invest in the current commanders rather than the old ones. We'll see what I end up doing here, but I'm interested in your thoughts. What do you think of this commander? Are you going to be taking them to the battlefield? And now that we know OV won an Ark of Osiris League using this commander, will you use them? I suppose, gosh darn it, I forgot to mention one pairing because I don't have this commander right now, and that's Wu Zetian. Wu Zetian, I think, would be a strong pairing. Either one of them could be the primary. I actually think Wu Zetian as the primary would be better. However, I also think that if you're using that pairing, you're probably operating in that stall capacity in Ark of Osiris League, and I think you're better off with Richard I as the secondary to try to pull off that kind of a stall than using Constantine with Wu. So that's part of why I didn't talk about that earlier. I think that could be good. I don't think it's as good as having them separate. So there you go. There you go. We got our bases covered. If you enjoyed this video, please do like and subscribe. It means a lot to me as a content creator. And until next time, you have fun smashing the kingdom.